Hello friends, if you want to improve on the relationship that you have with food, it all comes down to your mindset. The way you view food, the way you see food, and the beliefs that you have surrounding food matters. So shifting the way you see food is going to help transform your eating habits and ultimately build a much better relationship with food. So in this video, I want to share with you 5 things that I've been practicing and that has helped me in healing my relationship with food that I would like to share with you all. So the first one is to stop labeling food as good or bad. Because when we label foods, for example, when we label foods as good, we tend to think that it's healthy foods. And in most cases, we feel good about it because it's healthy and it's good for us. On the other hand, often when we label food as good, then there's food that is also bad for us. And what I find is that when we put a label, such as a negative label, such as bad food, unhealthy food, or junk, or having a cheat meal, we tend to associate, and it's human nature to feel bad or to attach some form of negative emotions towards bad or unhealthy foods that we're having. And I find that this is not serving us, because when we label food as bad and we have it and we attach those feelings, then food doesn't come from a positive place. And that could have a domino effect on how we approach our nutrition, and ultimately we want it to be sustainable. So really shifting away from labeling food as good or bad, but seeing food as neutral and seeing food as either more nutrient dense, which is ideally more the foods that we want to be having more of, such as obviously your fruits and your veggies and all of the foods that have a lot of nutrients in them, a lot of nutrients, fibers, and everything like that. So when we see foods, your healthy foods, as more nutrient dense, and then there are foods that are less nutrient dense, such as your sweets, your donuts, your cakes, chips, and everything like that. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love all of that because it tastes good. I tend to, rather than putting or attaching a label such as junk or bad or unhealthy, I like to call them soul foods. And I tend to have them, and I encourage you to have them in moderation, because that is what is going to make nutrition and your overall intake on a day-to-day basis sustainable. So having those not so nutrient dense foods, which I call them fun foods or soul foods, that are good for my mind because they're yummy, but in moderation. Because at the end of the day, we do want to fill our day-to-day intake with wholesome nutrient dense food, not just for our performance in the gym, but for our day-to-day energy as well. So seeing food, so not labeling food as good or bad, but seeing it as either more nutrient dense, which we should be having, we should make the majority of our daily intake, and then there's the not so nutrient dense, which we should have in moderation because they're good for your soul. So number 2 is to ditch the all or nothing approach. So when we start a new diet, for example, or when we come back on track from, just for example, we've had a week or days of not sort of eating in a way that's supporting our mental, physical health, and that's perfectly okay, because sometimes life happens, we go on holidays, we have social events and things like that, and we want to get back on track, because we know that by eating better and just cleaning up our diet can help us with improved energy on a day-to-day basis at the gym and everything like that. And I used to do this as well, where I would say, okay, well, starting as of Monday, I am going to fully commit and fully go all in on my nutrition in terms of clean eating. And I would go all in. And often and there's nothing wrong about committing to a diet. I think that that's a great thing, because, you know, we want to improve on our overall well-being by eating in a way that nourishes our mind and our body. But if we go all in, which is a good thing, as I mentioned, what tends to happen is that we restrict ourselves from foods. And when we restrict ourselves from food, we often crave for the things that we genuinely enjoy. So when we restrict ourselves, those cravings come, and then we push and we push. And I could tell you that restriction is not sustainable at all, because we will fall for the foods that we want to eat, because our cravings don't last. And when we eat a particular food that we crave for, then we tend to just let everything slip, and we will just eat everything in the pantry and just make one sort of, I suppose, slip up turn into the whole day, and then the whole day will turn into 2 days, and then before you know it, it will be a week, and then we will be saying, okay, well, I'm gonna start again the following week. And then it just ends in this sort of binge restrict cycle where we're so good with our nutrition and it just contains mostly clean foods, and then we fall for our cravings, and then we just go all out, and then we go back into this clean, and it just becomes this vicious cycle, and it's not sustainable long term. So rather than going all in or nothing, just be okay with making mistakes or slip-ups and then getting back on track. But more importantly is to find a strategy that works for you in the long term. And I am a big believer and a big advocate actually for being flexible. So being flexible with your nutrition, and I follow a flexible dieting approach. I believe that that's the best approach when it comes to sustaining nutrition, to eat in a way that you could sustain long term. So what that means is usually incorporating majority of your foods, I would say about 80% wholesome, nutrient-dense food, and then adding in the foods that you enjoy having, whether that's sweets like donuts, cakes, and things like that, as 20%, and having it in moderation, because that way you're able to sustain this way of eating in the long term, and you don't have to go through this sort of binge restrict cycle all the time, because that literally is, you know, you're all in or nothing. So working a way that can sustain eating in a way for longevity, because ultimately this should be a lifestyle change. Even so, as I mentioned, if you do make a mistake or you have a small slip up, because life does happen, whether you go on vacation, you have holidays coming up, or, you know, on the other end where you might have more on your plate, you might be busier with work, or something suddenly happens that's out of your control, then being okay with that and working around a strategy that can ultimately help you sustain eating in a way as a lifestyle change. Okay, so rather than going for the all or nothing approach, learn how to adopt flexibility into your day-to-day intake, or work or adopt a strategy, and it all comes down to trial and error as well. Work what's best for you. If you are kind of person that likes to eat out over the weekends, try and fit that in and make it work for you, because everyone's lifestyles are different and there's no one size fits all. So if you are that kind of person that enjoys eating out on a weekly basis, over the weekend, fit that in, and then throughout the day, throughout the week, maybe that's where you are eating a little bit better in terms of ensuring you are incorporating more nutrient-dense meals throughout the week, and then you get to enjoy the weekends, for example. Okay, so ditching the all or nothing approach, finding a sustainable way that you could keep as a lifestyle change. Okay, so number 3, which sort of ties back, very similar to the all or nothing approach, is to strive for consistency rather than being perfect. As much as it's great to be accurate in terms of being accurate in your nutrition when it comes to your health and fitness goal, whether that is fat loss or building muscle, it's great to be accurate in order to achieve those goals if they're the goals that you have. But in a perfect world, we are not 100% perfect all the time. Even myself, that has been in this fitness space for the last 7 or 8 years, I still make mistakes, minor mistakes. Sometimes I overeat, but I forgive myself because at the end of the day, we are human and we all stuff up. So rather than punishing yourself because you made a small slip up, just be kind to yourself and just know that you're human and that everyone makes these mistakes. And I could tell you that the people that learn from their mistakes, or not really learn, but just, acknowledge that they've gone over and acknowledge that they're human, and then getting back on track with the very next meal or the very next day, that is progress in itself. Because often when we strive to be perfect and when something happens and when we have like a small slip up or we make a small mistake, we tend to let that mistake or that slip up turn into the whole day, turn into the whole week, and then we just get into this cycle, as I mentioned earlier in this video. So the hardest part is to get right back on track and forgive yourself and know that it happens. And the next opportunity is to just get right back on track the very next meal or the very next day, and just be kind to yourself and know that you're just human and we all make mistakes. And that in itself, where you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off and you just go again, no matter how many times you do it. And I can't even begin to tell you that this has been the biggest learning lesson for me and the biggest learning curve for me, and the hardest actually, to really pick myself up and just go at it again. See it from a light that you're only going to get better each time that you pick yourself up and you go again. Because no one in this world is perfect with their nutrition. And I could tell you, every single woman that I've worked with and had conversations with, we get so hard on ourselves when we make a mistake. And that there's nothing wrong about there's nothing wrong about being hard on yourself, because that just means that you care and that you care about your progress, your goals in terms of fat loss or building muscle. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're human. Even sometimes I go over and I feel bad, but I have to remind myself that I'm only human and that I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna see what I could do for the next time to improve. And this is the best way that will help you in being kind to yourself, building a better relationship with yourself, not just with food, but building a better relationship with yourself. Because when you have a better relationship with yourself, the relationship you have with food, with the things in life, will just become so much better. So I could tell you right now, to this point, it gets easier. The more discomfort that you face and overcome, it will get easier every single time. So I could tell you right now, being in the fitness space and doing this for the past almost 8 years, that I've come such a long way, and it's all iterating every single time. So celebrate progression, celebrate that in itself, celebrate that you've got back on track. Just the act of getting back on track is to be celebrated, because it's not easy. It is hard. So strive for consistency as opposed to perfection. And this doesn't just apply to the relationship you have with food, but this applies with everything in life. Always zoom out in the bigger picture, and if you are consistent 80% of the time, that is still a win. Celebrate that, and just keep making iterations and keep improving as you go along in your journey. So be kind to yourself if you make those small slip-ups, and never try to be perfect all the time. Aim to be consistent. That's gonna help you stick to the process for long term. And when you're able to stick to the process long term and sustain this, then you are ultimately going to build a much better relationship with food, okay? So number Number 4, the fourth tip is to know the why behind why you're eating in a particular way, or understanding nutrition, pretty much having an understanding and having a knowledge behind the foods that you're having. And if you are working towards a fitness goal, whether that is fat loss or building muscle, then when you understand the particular foods that you're having and why you are having, for example, how much protein, the carbs or fats that you're having, not just to support your goals, but to support your overall health, then you will feel so empowered to stick to that. And in terms of, having that better relationship with food also comes down to building better habits when it comes to the choices that you make. And when you understand the why and what the nutrients of particular foods that you're having to support your goals, you'll also be more inclined to make mindful choices when you're eating. Okay, so it is so powerful to know why you're eating the way you're eating. It is so powerful. And if you are needing help, definitely go ask for help, seek coaching. And if you don't have the finances to seek coaching, there's so much information out there on the internet. And I know that there's so much information out there on the net, and everyone likes to say that this is the best nutrition or this is the best diet to follow. And rather than just blindly going in and saying, okay, well, if this is trending now, I'm just going to jump on it because it's worked for them. Or if you see your favorite fitness influencer following a particular diet, that doesn't mean that you follow them. Do your research, understand just the basics of nutrition. And there's just so many information just to understand the basics. And in terms of when it comes to diets, try it out. Use trial and error and see if it works for you. If it doesn't, then try a different one. For example, people will say fasting, try it. And if it doesn't work for you, then go low carb. If low carb doesn't work for you, keto. If keto doesn't work for you, then try something else. I've tried all of those methods, and I could say flexible dieting has worked best for me and for my clients as well, because I enjoy food. I love carbs. I'm never gonna cut out carbs. I love fats as well. I'm never gonna cut out fats. And if with that being said, fats are essential for hormonal health. So that is what I mean there's so much power in understanding the basics of nutrition. And if you want to know more about it, please do comment in the section below that you want to know more about it, so that I could send you a PDF for free. Just message me, and then I will private message you and I will give you the PDF for free. So if you want that free PDF, in the comment section below, let me know that you want to just say I'm in. Just type in the word I'm in. I want to know more, and I will send you the free PDF just to understand the basics around nutrition, because it's so powerful. It is so powerful, and this is the most powerful thing that's helped me, and the most single thing that's helped me when it comes to improving my relationship with food. Because when I see food and when I'm educated with the foods that I'm having, I just feel more empowered to make better nutritional choices that will serve me. So that's important. That's helped me. So number 5, the last one, is to see food as to have an abundance mindset. And what I mean by this is that, rather than seeing foods that I can't have this, just the word can't, because your words matter. When you say you can't have something because it doesn't fit your diet, rather than saying you can't, that comes from a scarcity mindset. It's like, I can't have that because, whatever it is. Just know that if you are to change your words and say, I can have that, but now is not the time, it is so freaking powerful. So often when people are following a diet, and let's say they go to the shops and then they see chips or they see cakes or donuts, and they will just immediately say, I can't have that. Like at the time, because words matter, at the time, rather than saying I can't, just say that you can have it, but not right now. That's the key word. I can have it, but not right now. You could have it tomorrow. You could have it over the weekends. You could have it next week, because reality is that food will always be there. It's like we live in a world where food is of abundance. Food is always going to be around. It's going to be there tomorrow. It's going to be there next week. It's going to be there in 2 months' time. It's going to be there next year. Like, food is always around, but it's just the time and place and the season or the phase that you're in. So if you are in a fat loss phase, for example, then just know that. And how I see it and what's helped me when it comes to me being in a fat loss phase, and obviously when you're in a fat loss phase, you don't have a lot of calories to work with, then I see donuts, cakes, or whatever, because I absolutely love all of those. I will always say to myself, I can have these, but not right now, not right now. There's so much power to that, because now I'm focusing on my goals. I won't be able to have it right now, but I can have it, when I'm not in my fat loss phase. So right now that I'm not in a fat loss phase, this is the time and the place, because everything has a time and a place for it. It's just like saying when you're going away on holidays. It's not like you're going away on holidays every single day of life. It's like there's always a time and a place. So coming back to seeing food as something that you can have rather than not what you can't have. You can have it, but there is a time and a place for it. And once I sort of shifted the way I say it, it's really molded my mindset, and see food that something like I don't feel restricted, because when I say I can't, it just ultimately means I'm restricting myself from that food. But I won't be able to have it now. I can have it, but not right now. And there's a time and a place for it. So see food as a time and a place. Like, you can have it. If not today, maybe I could have it tomorrow. Maybe I could make it fit into my nutrition. Maybe I could have it over the weekend where I could save room for that. And everything is in moderation. Everything is in moderation, okay? And when you see all of these when you see food in this way, that, you will build a better relationship with food, because at the end of the day, food doesn't control you. You're the one that controls how you see food, and it plays a big difference. So mindset is everything. And I could tell you that with everything that I've mentioned and the strategies that I've given you, it takes time. And I could tell you that the single thing, and it's all of them that I've mentioned, ties in together with how you see food. Like, mindset is everything. And at the same time, you're building a more resilient mind when it comes to food. Not just your relationship with food, but just how you approach it as well. And I'm saying this through years and years and years of experience. And I could tell you that me, myself, and many women that I talk to has struggled with their relationship with food. So these are the things that has helped me. And it's taken me a lot of years to find a way and to heal my relationship with food. And I could tell you right now, I am so much better than what I was previously. So it all just comes down to unlearning all of those and learning to shift the way you see food, because it makes the biggest difference and it takes time. So be so kind to yourself. Know that it is a process. Take your time with it. Even if it's small actions, 1% better every single time. And the more you make those mistakes and the more you see those mistakes as learning lessons, you're only just going to get better and better. And I could tell you that you need to have those mistakes. You need to not be perfect. You need to have those missteps in order for you to look at it in the bigger picture and see how I could improve for it the next time. And even if you could just get back on track and learn from, the mistakes or missteps that you have, and learn how to approach things a little bit more differently and do what works for you and that's suited to your lifestyle, you're only going to get better at it each time. So I encourage you to take your time, be so nice to yourself, and just know that we're all learning as we're going through. So I hope that this helps. And just remember that your mind is your most powerful asset, and you could literally do anything you put your mind to. Mindset is everything. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.